This is Mr. Toad. But wait, despite going viral several times and having a Dodo video made about him, maybe I need to rewind and give you a little backstory about Mr. Toad. We first moved into our house in 2019, and our dog Lola was actually the one who discovered Mr. Toad, but we kind of forgot about him truthfully until we had a kid. I'm Saraann, and this is my son Theo. We love playing outside together, and last year I remembered, hey, I think we have a toad that lives in the tree. I showed it to him, and he instantly fell in love. I immediately began thinking, how can I make this a little more fun and whimsical? So I took Theo to the craft store, and he picked out some doll furniture to decorate around the house. And then, as expected, this is where I started taking it a little too far. One day, my mom came over, and my son was so excited to show her the toad, and when she saw him, she said, oh my gosh, he's so hot, he needs a roof. And I was like, oh, you're right. I do need to make a roof. And I just kind of made it with some paint stirring sticks and pine cones. I just kind of ripped all the little pieces off and made it into shingles. One funny thing about this roof is that after I made it, I showed it to my mom and she said, oh my goodness, that looks exactly like a fairy garden that you made with your grandma when you were little. She sent me a photo and here I was thinking I was being very creative and original using pine cone shingles, but turns out I must have subconsciously done it because my grandma did the same thing when we made this fairy garden together when I was a kid. I've done so much trial and error with this project. Like here you can see I initially made this little porch thinking that would be really cute, but I ended up just really not liking the look of it in the end, and I started to worry that maybe it would prevent him from being able to easily get into his hole if he needed to. You'll notice that I use a lot of hot glue in this project, and I even look like a crazy person with it on an extension cord in the middle of my yard. Hot glue really seemed like the safest option for the toad. I'm very well aware that some of this decor is silly and just kind of for our own fun, which is why I try to be intentional about what glue I'm using and making sure that none of the things I'm doing are actually harming him, that is just kind of benign and neutral. So even though hot glue is not really the easiest to work with, especially outside, it seemed like the safest choice. Back to that trial and error, he has had a lot of different pool renovations. This was his first pool. It was just a cheap plastic bowl that I added some rocks and a little fountain to. I've tried to be really purposeful about adding more plants and especially adding some native plants to bring in more bugs for him to eat and provide more hiding places for him if he needed to. Now back to that trial and error. I had initially added a lot of rocks around the tree, and after I added them, I realized I really didn't like it that much. And I kind of wondered if Mr. Toad might not like it as much either, so I ended up scraping out all the rocks and finding moss just kind of naturally growing in our yard, and I transplanted it thinking it might be a little bit softer for the toad. But some of those leftover rocks did get used because I used them to make a cute little pathway through the moss. When I started this project last year, my son had just turned 2, so he could only do so much to help me. So I really wanted to make it as interactive but still as whimsical as possible, so I decided to make Mr. Toad write my son Theo letters. So I got some old school shrink-eating paper, I wrote him a little letter, and then I shrunk it in the oven. Loves mail, so this was a huge hit with him when we did this. He still talks to this day all about the time Mr. Toad wrote him a letter. Honestly, I really need to get on it and do this again. My husband and I imagined Mr. Toad has a certain voice, so I had my husband read it for the video.
Dearest Theodore, thank you greatly for so wonderfully decorating my cottage with the fall decor, the placement of the pumpkins, of which I know you meticulously studied, have added the most delightful charm to my abode. Sorry. The other toads of the neighborhood are growing quite jealous of my beautiful home that you have helped design. I look forward to what holiday decor you have in mind. Sincerely, Mr. Toad.
My husband was incredibly flattered by how many people think he should be a podcaster or audiobook narrator based on his voice. This was me doing Mr. Toad's first pool renovation. I really loved how this one turned out. I loved the natural look of the rocks with the grout. Unfortunately, though, I think the rocks ended up being kind of too big because this spring the bowl had kind of cracked, so I had to do another pool renovation that I will show you a little bit later. Even though Mr. Toad goes into hibernation in late fall and in the winter, we still like to decorate for the seasons for him. It's kind of a fun way for me to get Theo more involved, that I get to take him to the craft store and let him pick out whatever seasonal decor he wants for Mr. Toad's house. Ever since Mr. Toad has come into our lives, we've learned a lot about what we can do to be beneficial to toads, attracting more toads, and being beneficial to wildlife in general in our yard. We actually ended up getting our yard as a certified wildlife habitat. One of the things we have learned, though, is that if you are trying to attract more toads to your yard like we are, what you have to do is provide shelter and a consistent water source for toads. So in an effort to attract more toads to our yard, this is the first house and pool we made, and we lovingly call it Toad Church because it kind of reminds me of stained glass windows. Now, in all transparency, it's likely too colorful to attract a toad, but we kind of just treat it like a little fairy garden, and it's just kind of fun to check it on, honestly. Second, when we built, I used a wooden birdhouse, and I added the same pinecone shingles and sticks that I all hot glued on. I kind of had a vision of making it like the folklore house from the Eras tour. I really, really loved how this one turned out. My son picked out a lot of cute little decor for it, including a mailbox, but some little glitter jars and fake little books. I just think it looks so cute and whimsical. Then I just used a plain ceramic white bowl that I got from Dollar Tree for his pool, and I have intentions to go back and make it a little cuter in the future. In complete transparency, even though I know that we're doing good positive things in our yard, there was a little part of me that was a little fearful of like, what if this toad doesn't come back when he comes out of hibernation? But in early April, we went out into our yard one day and found a new little toad in one of the houses we had built. Theo is really, really obsessed with the Rocky 2 soundtrack, and this little guy really loves rocks, so we named him Rocky Balboa. And just a couple weeks later, as we were walking around our backyard, we found Mr. Toad back in his tree. So that was a relief. But in fact, it seems like he liked it so much that he brought friends. So I don't really know what's going on there. But Theo says it's Mr. Toad's wife and his baby, and we're like, yeah, sure.
There are 3 toads in there.
In the spring, we also got our first foster placement. So we had a foster daughter for about 3 months in the spring, and it was really, really fun to share Mr. Toad with her too, and get her interested in nature and caring about it. Theo loved to show her all the different things about his house and Rocky's house and things like that.
What's he doing?
Yeah, come on to get some more mail.
Get some mail?
Yeah.
Theo picked out a few little fun new decor things for Mr. Toad's house this year, including that little swinging bench and that little blue pickup truck that you can probably see. And there's also a little bike that he really loves. And we say that Mr. Toad rides the truck and rides the bike at night when we're sleeping. Now, we live in North Carolina where it gets pretty hot and humid, so it's not all too shocking that the hot glue does not hold up super well long-term in the elements. So I did have to do some roof repairs this year, and I just got out my trusty, handy hot glue gun and my super long extension cord and looked like a crazy person gluing on our tree.
Oh, he's coming out.
I think at this point he's so used to our antics that he is so completely unbothered by me being so close and gluing right above his head. But we also are like really drilling into Theo that we don't touch the toad. And so I think at this point he knows that we're not there to bother him and that we mean him no harm. And then for this year, hopefully we're on to our last pool renovation, hopefully forever. This time I got some thin, really small pieces of mosaic glass tile that are this green and kind of brown earthy color. And I just used some mosaic adhesive, and I actually used the same bowl as last time. I tried my very best to arrange it in a fun little pattern, and then after it dried for about a day, then I went in with grout and grouted it to kind of give it a little bit more of a natural look that will hopefully blend into his environment.
Look who's out.
Little toad.
Should we give him his new pool?
Yeah.
We made you a new pool. We hope you like it.
When VIC band.
Yes, when we're sleeping, he rides his bike and he gets in his swing and he rides his truck that you picked out for him. He likes to do those things while we're sleeping.
Yeah, and it got mail for Theo.
Yeah, and he writes you letters.
Yeah.
I hope this was a comprehensive lore of Mr. Toad for you all. But more than anything, I hope that it inspires you all to do something fun and creative like this with your own kids or just in your own garden by yourself, and maybe attract some more toads to your own yard and garden, because they really are such fun little guys and they eat mosquitoes. So really, it's a win-win.